Alright guys, in today's video, let's talk about the most common weight calisthenics beginner mistakes, aka mistakes that a lot of newbies out there make when they just start out your weight calisthenics journey. I'm going to talk about 7 big mistakes in total, and I'm going to go over them in no particular order. But without further ado, let's actually talk about the first weight calisthenics beginner mistake. The first one is starting off your weight calisthenics journey without a proper foundation. Now, people that watched my videos in the past would probably think by now, there he goes again, once again. Yes, I talked about this a lot in previous videos, and if you guys haven't watched those, this is absolutely key. Before starting off your weight calisthenics journey, make sure that you have a good bodyweight training foundation first. I want you to be able to do 15 plus reps with your normal body weight exercises before loading them up with additional weight, and doing this is going to minimize the risk of injury, is going to make sure you have proper form embedded, and is also going to allow you to make faster progress whenever you actually load up your exercises later on. But once again, if you guys watched my previous videos, you already know this. So let's talk about the second mistake that beginners make, aka doing way too much initially. Now, this is pretty much the result of, like, if you just start out doing something new, you are in this honeymoon phase where you literally like doing this thing so much that you actually want to do a lot more of that specific thing. But when you just start out your weight calisthenics journey, you actually want to progress on the least amount of volume / work possible, aka the lowest amount of volume at the lowest frequency, and the least complicated programming possible that still allows you to make progress. And so when starting out, you can literally get away with doing 3 sets on an exercise once a week, just doing straight sets, and you will probably still make progress on that setup. And if you can do that, don't do more volume, don't do it more throughout the week, just progress on the least amount of work possible. And so as a beginner, there is absolutely no need to do weighted pull-ups or any kind of exercise 3 times a week with a lot of volume. Instead, once again, do the least amount of work possible that allows you to get your results. And then the third mistake is going too heavy too quickly. Now, I actually talked about this in one of my previous videos where I talked about how to start out your weight calisthenics journey. And what I talked about in that video is that pretty much a lot of people initially, what they want to do is they want to test out their 1 rep max on an exercise, do very low reps, and to pretty much try to get stronger when they just start out their weight calisthenics training. But actually doing this initially is not a very good use of your time, and it's not going to be very productive. And in my previous video, I pretty much talked about what you should do when you start out your weight calisthenics journey, aka about 3 to 6 months of building yourself a nice foundation first. But if you guys want more information about what you should do, pretty much check out that previous video where you actually can get a very detailed explanation of what you should do where you just start out your weight calisthenics journey. And then the fourth mistake is to sacrifice form for weight. This is pretty much a phenomenon known as ego lifting, and it pretty much happens all the time with any kind of type of resistance training. It's basically just people lifting way too heavy than they're capable of, and therefore lifting it with very poor form. And they often do this to impress themselves or to impress others because they think that they are stronger than they actually are. And doing this will pretty much increase the risk of injury, and you're also going to plateau rather quickly and rob yourself from a lot of gains that you would make if you would do those exercises properly. And so what you want to do instead is don't lift more weight than you can actually lift with proper form. In the exact second when you feel like your form is breaking down, definitely don't go any further beyond that point, because you will create bad habits when you do that quite often. And then the fifth mistake is not having a clear goal. Now, like I talked about in previous videos, what your goal is pretty much determines to a very large extent how you should be training. And because of that, knowing what your goal is absolutely crucial, because if your goal is to get stronger, you probably are going to have longer rest times and to work in lower rep ranges in comparison to where your goal will be hypertrophy, where you're going to generally do a little bit higher reps and to have shorter rest times. And by the way, I actually talked about the difference in between those two types of training in previous videos, but for this video specifically, you have to know the difference in between them and know what your goal is to determine the right approach suited for your goals. And then the sixth and final mistake is not having any kind of plan or structure with your training. Now, this is a mistake that a lot of people are making in general with their training, and it is something that's going to rob you from so much progress over the long term. Because one of the most important things that you have to do when training is trying to apply progressive overload, aka get better at your training over a period of time by increasing the weight or the reps that you're doing. But how can you know how to beat your previous session if you don't know what you did last week? And so it is absolutely crucial that you actually write down your workouts in order to try to beat your last workout every single week by slowly but surely increasing the weight or reps that you're doing. And it could be as little as a 3x8 with X amount of kilograms written down in your notes on your cell phone. And by doing so, you can actually ensure that you are slowly but surely increasing weight and reps within your training, therefore applying progressive overload, therefore getting better at your weight calisthenics training. Because what gets measured also gets better. And with that being said, those are the 6 most common weighted calisthenics mistakes. For now, let's actually finish off today's video. So as always, like, subscribe if you guys haven't already, and share the video. If you guys have any more questions, queries, or advice, leave them down below in the comment section. And I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. 3 videos a week. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Latest.